Hello, my name is Ron Noble. I hope that you'll bear with me about the lack of the quality of the sound. I apologize for that. I'll work on that. I have previously taught a few Bible lessons on here, but tonight I'd just simply like to read you an article that I wrote back in February of 2014 called "A National Disgrace." Without too much comment, I hope that you'll bear with me a few minutes. Rarely, if ever, have I written concerning a social ill, an issue that is a symptom of the sick society in this supposed civilized country. But this is so strongly a grievance to me that I have to lift my voice against it. I know this may sound funny, but bear with me for a few minutes. I recently watched part of a TV show called Hoarders. This is a program where folks, for some reason, can't seem to throw anything away, even trash, and so their houses and lives get filled up with stuff. They don't have stuff, their stuff has them. In the episode I watched, a man and a son lived in a house that was so crowded with things that they found it necessary to keep two cats in kennels stacked in the bathtub. Some professional help had been called in to help them with all this, only to be told that there were about 10 more cats in the basement. They all went downstairs where piles and piles of stuff were, most of them up to the ceiling, and there was a narrow path that led to small animal kennels stacked on top of each other with the cats in them. The dad said that the cats kept knocking their food and water over, and that's what caused them to get so dirty, but he was going to clean them again. He also said that his children and the cats were all that was important to him anymore, and that he didn't care about anything else. The upcoming preview for the next segment showed the dad sitting on the couch very emotional because they, the Animal Cruelty Society or some other society, were taking the cats out of the house. Now that's about all I had patience to watch. Now, on a personal note, I hate cats. But as I watched those animals all making pitiful noises, cramped in those small cages and not having food and water, I couldn't help but feel sad for the dad and for the son. I've seen the commercials that show the abused, malnutrition, and neglected animals that are victims of their owners. I've seen the bony ribs and the matted fur, clotted by filth, sweat, or blood. I've heard about the puppy mills and of the money that's involved. I've heard about the plight of the whales and the dolphins and the sea lions and those that are trying to help them. And it's all tragic. Is that too extreme a word to use about these animals? I suppose I need to be a little more benevolent or compassionate, don't I? Maybe I need a little more concern for animals that can't take care of themselves. Shouldn't I? Of course I should. You should too. I need to be not just more compassionate, but ready to act on that compassion. Understand that there are many organizations that work in the area of helping animals in some way. Maybe I need to join one of them. There's no excuse for pet owners to verbally or physically treat their pets the way they do. I wonder, why do they do that? Are they tired of them? Do they enjoy picking on things smaller than themselves? Sometimes the cruelty of people can be almost beyond understanding. You've seen it. Excuse me. People get mad when their pets don't do something right, or beat them when they do something wrong, and cage them or put shock collars on them or whatever. Then there are the people that are humanitarians. They make sure their animals are very well taken care of. They will spend time, money, and effort, great amount, to make sure Fido or Fifi or whatever isn't being deprived. Why, we don't want our animals to go without anything. In fact, Business Week stated that Americans now spend $41 billion a year on their pets. And that's from August 2007 statistic. As I said, it's 2014 as I write this. I mean, I stagger when I hear about dog clothes and toys and jewelry and vet bills and pet cemeteries and monuments and everything else. And don't let anyone badmouth our animals either. We may do it, but if others do it or try to take them away, we get defensive, angry, and even violent. Now I'll stop here to clarify something. I'm hoping that by now the reader has realized that what I've written has been with some, not all, tongue in cheek. Many owners may act the way I've described, but many don't. There are good and fair and balanced pet owners today. What I'm talking about is the individual that takes more care about his animals, and what I'm talking about is the individual who takes care more about his animals than they do a human life. We talked about the injustice of someone big picking apart someone smaller and defenseless. I ask you, isn't it a shame, a crime, when someone has weight and size advantage to use against a weaker person? Isn't it a travesty when we see a defenseless baby? Animals being taken apart by someone stronger? We've got people on the TV and radio lament whatever their cause is, and they make it sound catastrophic if people don't listen and heed what they're saying. I'm not saying there aren't legitimate causes. Sure there are. So don't go chalking me up to be unconcerned or uninformed. If it's one thing I'm not, it's uninformed. I've read the statistics, heard the arguments, considered the reasons, etc. Yet I see plainly, clearly what is happening. Don't you? Don't you see that we're living in an upside-down world where good is called evil and evil is called good? Don't we see how hypocritical it is to say that we care about the defenseless and yet turn our hearts and heads away from this horrific action of abortion? I've read that during the Civil War, approximately 620,000 soldiers died from combat, accident, starvation, and disease. Did you hear how many people died when the ship Titanic went down? I've read that more than 1,500 people lost their lives when it sank. Did you know that it's estimated that about 11 million people were killed during the Holocaust? Did you hear about 9/11 when the Twin Towers went down in New York City? I've heard that almost 3,000 people died. I hear there are school shootings where teachers and children die. And what do? We mourn, saddened by the news that happened to others, and that it happened at all. We lower flags to half-masts, and we have memorials. And we should. Did you hear about the 3,500 children that were killed today? No? Don't worry. It'll happen tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Oh, don't be so dramatic, you might say. There's not that many. There's not that many. Maybe you're right. I'm sorry. Let's say only 2,000 a day, or 1,000, or 500. That makes it better, doesn't it? If you think I'm bitter, you're right. I've got a bad taste in my mouth at what we're being forced to swallow. I'm bitter because we sit and laugh and try to enjoy life. But the older I get, the less I'm finding to laugh about. And I cannot imagine God laughing. I believe God is creator of life and people are fearfully and wonderfully made. But it doesn't seem much of what we are doing is actually giving sanctity to that life. It seems there's little regard for human life, although some want to debate on that wording. We're killing his creation. We see pictures in the paper and on TV of the people and animals that are diseased and afflicted, homeless and limbless. And our hearts go out to them. Sympathy tugs at our heartstrings of what we see. But I wonder, how would we feel if we saw the pictures of aborted babies and the pieces of what's left of them on our TV? How about those images in high definition? Go to Google or whatever browser you use, type in abortion, and look at the pictures. I dare you. I dare you. How about the pictures of the young girls that are scared and sitting alone, maybe some on the edge of suicide because their boyfriend that got them pregnant had forsaken them? It's funny that after a baby is born, then any child abuse of, or neglect, or murder is taken very seriously. But as long as it's in the womb, it should be the safest place for a child to be. It's illegal killing. I don't need to describe the different methods used to do this diabolical act, do I? Nor do I feel a need to try to expound on how a doctor can be able to do this. When I hear people say that they are a Christian and yet support abortion, which I'm sure there aren't many, I want to throw up my hands in disgust and dismay. I've often wondered about the people that are for abortion but against the death penalty, which I just want to make a point. I'm not trying to decide the rightness or wrongness of the death penalty right now. But my question is it true justice to not kill the guilty but execute the innocent? For those criminals that have tried and been found guilty and have been sentenced to death to pay for their crimes against humanity and pay their debt to society, if it's illegal, why are so many against it? Too inhumane? Too barbaric? Too gruesome? People cry, oh, the convict has rights. Put this in contrast with the child of the womb who has done nothing. Do they have no rights? But I forget, blob of tissue isn't a person. There are people to stand up for the convicts in prison. The people who committed crimes usually have some lawyer, an advocate to speak for them, an attorney to represent them. But what about the children? Who will speak for them? Will you, that pretend to be so caring for everything else, yet so callous on this issue, remain unmoved at the fact that human lives are being ended? Not always humanely or painlessly, but ripped apart and burnt and sucked out of the womb. Can we remain silent? Please save the children. How dare us? How dare us play God? How can we think we can terminate the life He creates and continue singing, God bless America? Let me tell you, I do believe that God is going to damn America or execute judgment upon for all the innocent bloodshed. Actually, we probably have damned ourselves, and all He is doing is going to carry out the sentence. And I believe, in very small measure compared to what we deserve, we're reaping an outpouring of His wrath. May God forgive us for picking apart those that are smaller than we are, and then again, God may not forgive. We may have gone too far. Our sin is great.